The Association of African Universities, AAU, Africa's apex higher education organization, invites stakeholders to its 15th quadrennial General Conference from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the Government of Ghana under 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-theme 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-theme 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-theme 4, funding of African higher education institutions in the face of unpredictable economy. Sub-theme 5, mainstreaming e-learning and the digital divide. Sub-theme 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCEA, CAMES, and SARUWA, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners, and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th Quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.event.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
L'Association des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. La conférence se tiendra virtuellement et ce sera accueilli par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une économie imprévisible. Sous-thème 5, intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et de la fracture numérique. Sous-thème 6, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Les participants attendus comprenant entre autres les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, des universitaires, les chercheurs et organismes de recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les organismes éducatifs régionaux comme la IUCEA, la CAMES, la SARUWA, le secteur privé organisé et les chefs d'industrie, les partenaires de développement, agences et organisations internationales et d'autres acteurs de l'éducation. La 15e conférence générale quadriennale de l'AUA est là. Pour vous inscrire et participer, veuillez visiter la tinyurl.com/AAUGC 2021 et pour plus d'informations sur la conférence, veuillez visiter le site web event.aau.org/GenCon ou envoyer un courriel à secgen@aau.org et copier info@aau.org. L'AUA, la voie de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique.
Dr. Moda Seka, I don't know if you're still connected. I would like to hand over the floor, but if there are some connectivity challenges, to save time, I would like to just invite Maud, who is going to make a presentation on behalf of the Equia and Himdad, and then Equia will come in and Himdad to add. So the floor is to you, Maud. I hope the session chair is still connected.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry. So the presentation is just, sorry, in French. Donc, bonjour à tous. La présentation d'aujourd'hui présente une analyse qui a été faite en termes de performance des centres, des différents centres dans les deux projets. Donc, au niveau de cette analyse, il y a 3 facteurs qui ont été pris en compte. Donc, les résultats atteints, les décaissements reçus.
Result achieved, disbursement received for the result, and the utilization rate for funds that were received by each center. In terms of results for DLIs, a couple of results have had a rate of 25%. As part of these indicators, we have master and PhD student enrollment and publication articles too. So the team uses this opportunity to congratulate all centers which were able to achieve 100% in the achievement of these indicators. There are other indicators for which the achievement was much slower, like short-term courses, internships, and accreditation. For DLIs on financial management, infrastructure, and development impact, verification is scheduled for upcoming months, and we anticipate that rates will be improved by then. For proportion of results achieved, this is expressed in percentage for the overall allocation that was given to each center. For the first ACE impact, the average percentage is 39, with 9 centers going over the average. So these are centers from Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Senegal. For the second ACE impact, the rate of achievement is 20% in average, with about 12 centers going above the average percentage. These are centers from Benin, Nigeria, and from Niger too. Also Cote d'Ivoire. The second part of the assessment focused on disbursement in every centers and countries. I'm talking about disbursement that were made. This disbursement encompasses funds received by centers, and for countries that have national facilitation units, we are talking about disbursement that were processed for these agencies, and the disbursement that were made for countries participating in the formal component. The average as at 11th May is 26%, and we anticipate an increment of 7% by the end of this month, after all the earnings made by centers for which letters were sent last week. For the second ACE impact, the average figure is 11%, and it's expected to increase to 22%, which is an important increment of about 15 to 17%, mainly anticipated, and we hope the disbursement of Nigeria will consider results that were achieved from the beginning of the project till now. Talking about funds used by each center, we have 4 centers that were able to have a good rate of utilization. We have Mythique in Senegal, the RCEE, the KNUST in Ghana, and ENCA in Cote d'Ivoire. Looking closely per project, We have an assessment that focuses on performance of centers in their national context, and we have the centers from Ghana that have about 15% of disbursement rate, MITIC, and in Burkina Faso, the College of Engineer, which is leading with 11%. For the second ACE impact, the leading center with 32% of disbursement rate is NCR, followed by CERSA with 7%. We also have a center from the Gambia coming up next. This is the update concerning disbursement rate, utilization rate, and results achieved by centers. Thank you very much for your attention. I give the floor back to Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Maud. I now note that Prof. Seka is back online. So, Dr. Seka, kindly take over the session.
Okay, thank you, Kandawe, Doctor. You are right, I was locked out, so I had to struggle to come back. Luckily, I've made it. It's technology, one of those things. Anyway, I believe in my absence, you have completed your presentation, and the next person on the line would be Dr. Benton. Is that the case?
Yes, the next is Dr. Bentila and Madam Windad by Yusuf.
Okay, I think let's have Dr. Bentil then.
Thank you, Dr. Matseka. I think since it's first ACE impact first, I'll pass it over to you, and I'll come in after. Yeah.
Morning, everybody. I think we have some audio issues a little bit, but merci tout le monde et bienvenue pour la réunion. I will speak a little bit in French and then try to switch off over to English. Pour la première impact, la prochaine étape.
For the first part of the presentation.
Oui, c'est la première étape, c'est pour le décaissement. Il faut.
On disbursement. There is a need to improve the disbursement letters for all countries, and this week we have to ensure that letters are sent after verification of result. For the second point, we need to finalize the assessment for DLI 2 because this is the new addition. We need to do a review for this assessment because DLI 2 focuses on development impact. The next step is to finalize the MNEL digital platform. We also need to provide an update for a meeting with Sharp Center in November.
Very, very important aspect of the project. One of the things that we had agreed was that we would start the midterm review from June, and it would go on all the way to the end of the year and also early next year for the second ACE impact. And as you all know, the objective of the midterm review is really to look at how the project is proceeding and address the overall technical aspects of the project. So, for example, how the indicators are relating to the project development objective. Are we on track? And most importantly, a lot of countries have an unallocated amount. So this is an opportunity to reallocate funds from this unallocated amount. And additionally, we will discuss extensively the technical benchmarks that we would be using as to what are the criteria for reallocating these funds. Additionally, in those extreme cases where we hope we don't have situations, but in the unlikely event that we have challenges with implementation progress, we will need to look at to what extent we also reallocate away. And this is only because the project has a limited timeline. And of course, both Ekwa and myself are working hard to see if we can get a project extension given the COVID situation last year. But this is not something that is guaranteed, and that we're working hard to try to get this. And depending upon the extension that we get, even if we do get an extension for a year or so, we still require a significant acceleration of implementation. As you saw, some of the centers had results and disbursement of around 20% or so, and then the utilization rate, which is a very, very important indicator, is well below 5%. And you're talking about we're in year 2.5 of project implementation. So even if it was a triple uptake of implementation, it still would require more than that in order to execute the funds effectively before project close, even assuming an extended project close. So a lot of discussions will be taking place nationally and regionally over the next 3-4 months in terms of those technical assessments. And we have excellent experience from ACE1, where we have undertaken a similar approach. As you all know, this is a performance funding project, so we have to apply the performance aspects. But on the most part, very good progress on the centers, so we will hopefully not be doing that. And most of the aspects we'll be working on is actually reallocating money to the centers that is in the unallocated aspect. I will stop there and invite my twin, Dr. Ekwa Bentel, to come in and also add on the next steps. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Himdat. Et bonjour tout le monde. I also speak a little bit of French and then just switch over. Merci à tous les directeurs du Centre d'Excellence.
Thanks to all the directors.
Bienvenue tout le monde. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour discuter de l'état d'avancement du SIA Impact.
Update for ACE Impact.
À présent, nous voulons voir des résultats
today we want to see accelerated results in all centers.
Est particulièrement important.
This is really important
since
we are getting to the midterm review, where we will need to decide on which centers will have additional funding and which centers are going to lose their funding. I need to remind all that is really necessary to quicken the process for the next 6 months.
So I will switch now to English. And I think, as Himdat said, you know, we've seen some good results, but we still have a lot of work to do. And particularly in terms of how centers are utilizing the funds that have gotten into your account. And we hope you accelerate that. And we discussed a lot of the challenges at the country roundtables, and particular challenges in Nigeria, which is unique, but we had some very good discussions around that. As you can see, we have a lot of activities planned, and we hope that you would take advantage of all of these activities. But very well done in spite of the great challenges with COVID and many other things. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much for Dr. Bentel and Himdat. I think I will give the opportunity to Quentin to wrap up the presentation from the AFD. Quentin, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For AFD, I just wanted to focus on the slides. Just to make sure that the AAU team can put the slide on ACE partner. Is it possible?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to focus on ACE partner. The rate of disbursement, the result achieved by centers, result per indicators for ACE partner, for the ACE partner project. I wanted to focus on result and key actions.
Thank you, Quentin. We are going to feature that one shortly.
33 inter-ACE scholars that are funded for masters and a PhD, and they are working on scientific issues, management of climatic risk, COVID-19, bill data, cybersecurity. Through the ACE partners, we have scholars that have received mobility scholarships, and there have been 4 events of launching and the establishment of a training program, just like I mentioned, including the creation of partnerships with the business school in France, an opportunity to do an incubation for startups on thematic networks. A lot of applications have been made, and this will help us to have support in terms of incubation for the project. I also want to focus on the next project and inform all centers part of the thematic network of the launching of the website for ACE Partner Web, which will also be related to the AAU website. There's also a signature of an agreement for support to management to research, and the next production of a book on article writing for June, and there will be a call for offer on this. I also need to say that the thematic networks are also focusing on the establishment of stakeholders with the inclusion of companies and networks that are existing in the ACE Impact project in order to ensure that networks are sustainable enough. It's important to mention that today there is a session at 1:30 p.m. with the AAU that will give details on the progress of ACE Partner and every activity that will take place per network. Thank you very much to the AAU.
Okay, thank you very much, Quentin, for that brief statement. I think we can now move to the last part, which is the question and answers. Dr. Kandawea, are we getting the questions posted on the chat box?
Yes.
Okay, please post your questions on the chat box, and then we'll call the panelists to answer to some of your concerns.
Okay, so for the questions that are related to the AAU presentation on update, we have a question on RESEN that we need to add one member, a partner, Sia Ajiu, into the RESEN. That is noted, and we shall do so. But we just wanted to clarify that RESEN is among the 2 networks that were not selected, and they were highlighted in the presentation. So RESEN and ANOF, this is the one on One Health, they were not selected, they were not successful. So from the chat box that we see, team members from the ANOF were asking that we had given them feedback to address the proposal, and make sure that they resubmit. But from the evaluation process and reports, these two, Resen and ANOF, were not successful. But we noted these two, the partners also were belonging to some of the 8 networks that we have funded. So most of these partners are already partnering with the other networks that were successful. So that's, I think, also some good news in that regard.
Okay, is that the end of questions for you?
They also say MITIC is missing in the DSN partners. We will cross-check and include that. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have questions for the TTLs from the World Bank?
Not on the chat.
Sylvia, there's a hand raised. Chair.
Yes. Yes, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
I'm the one with the hands raised. Professor Marco is my name. Can I go ahead and ask my questions?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Why not? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want 2 clarifications from Kandrea. One, I observed that my center, the African Center of Excellence for Mycotoxin and Food Safety, was not listed as one of the centers that participated in the faculty and student symposium. And I know we participated, and I, as a center leader, coordinated 2 sessions in the public health and drug development session. So I just want to put this on record so that our names are captured, the name of our center is captured for record purposes. Number 2, the African Center of Excellence led the group that wrote for the establishment of the West African Food Safety Network. That is the WAFOSAN. And we want to know, we're expecting to have our award letter today as written in the letter. And if so, what next? Are we resubmitting a budget or what? We want some
clarification.
Information us how to go ahead from that point. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I think we listen to Kandawea for an answer, or for answers.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you very much, Prof, for raising these important questions. And for the first one, I think it's a comment well noted. We are going to update that. And I think what we'll do, we had already circulated an email. We wanted to get a list of all participants for various symposium, including students, lecturers, subject matter experts. So we have this record well kept in our system. So we will receive all that, but your comment is well noted. And then for the what next for WAFOSAN as a network, I think this will apply to all the selected networks as well, this information. As we had indicated in our letter, there was a process and we received comments from the external evaluators, and these external evaluators provided feedback on areas that needed to be strengthened. So some had issues to resubmit the proposal. All of them will have to resubmit the proposal, taking into account the Annex 1, which we provided on the weaknesses, addressing those areas. And then secondly, in terms of the letter, grant award letter, yes, we are aware we are preparing these documents. We should be able to send these documents immediately after the regional workshop, and all the successful networks will get their award letters. And we had also another additional question on DLI 2 on the chat. What is the information? Where can we get this information on DLI 2? To begin with, the upcoming sessions this week, we have a specific session on DLI 2 where part of the working group members will be presenting the details, what has been done on DLI 2, what are the proposed next steps, and the timelines that we are looking at to work on the DLI 2. So there's a specific session with that information, but DLI 2 specifically, we are looking at the contribution of the institutions towards the development challenge. So there are clear indicators in the operations manual, and we'll be unpacking all those during the upcoming session. And then there was a last question about the PASET, the processes, indicating, one of the participants indicating that the process has begun. The PASET that we provided here was just to give you an update from the component 2.2, which is managed under ECP. That is what has been happening at ECP. So if there's more information also to get from that, we have a specific session where Dr. Moses Osiru, the regional manager for PASET, will be providing this detail. But the PASET benchmarking will be handled under the DLI 7, and the processes will be also listed. I know there's always this information to be clarified on PASET benchmarking and the PASET ECP, and we made these specific sessions that we can clarify better on this. So we welcome all centers to the PASET session so we can get adequate clarity from the PASET ECP team. Thank you so much, Chair. I think we've responded to all that related to AAU.
Okay, thank you. I can see that there is also a hand from Oris Ibere. Oris, you have the floor.
Can you unmute me now? Okay. Sylvia, please, I need a clarification. I had some sort of impeded audio while you were responding to the chat, to the question I raised on the chat box. This with respect to the proposal we submitted from AC Puto. That proposal was not successful. I want to find out from your presentation this morning, are we to respond to the remarks made by the reviewers and resubmit? That's the clarification I just want. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Kandawe, back to you.
Thank you very much. What it means is that the proposal was not successful for this time around for funding, so we are unable to fund it at the moment. But I think the proposal is an opportunity for the team members to strengthen it, addressing the key issues that were identified by the external evaluators, and we can submit it for other additional funding windows that may be available. So as part of the next steps that we are looking into to support these networks, we would like to make sure that we work with the networks to identify additional funding opportunities, because what we are providing is just seed funding to initiate certain activities. So for those that were not successful, we'll be working closely with them to submit for other funding windows. So it will be good, Prof, to address all these issues and make sure that we are ready when a window avails. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is very clear now.
I saw Dr. Hadim Bake raise his hand earlier. Do you want to still speak, Doctor? Hello, Doctor? It seems as we've lost him. Any other questions from the chat box?
Yes, some
okay, Ben. Sorry, yeah.
Relates to the World Bank.
Yes.
few of them, so I would like to maybe Maud to respond to them and the team.
Okay, raise them, please.
What are the plans for sustaining SCs in their countries? The sustainability of the SCs, what are the plans maybe from the financiers' point of view? And then also, another one is a comment that we hope that the logistic issues in respect to funds disbursement in Nigeria is being resolved. That's to the World Bank team and AFD. So I think maybe...
Okay, those are the two questions. Can we have Dr. Dr. Bentel to maybe raise his observation question and then answer those questions also, if possible? Dr. Bentel, you have the floor.
Sure, I will just touch on a couple of these points, and then I think him that you may also come in, or Quentin as well. So in terms, I'll start with Nigeria. So Nigeria, it's not, I don't think it's not a logistics issue. So the government needs to approve Nigeria's overall borrowing plan. So that needs to happen at the government side. But we are hoping that that can be taken care of very soon, so that disbursements can happen for the centers. With respect to the question of sustainability, I think that's a question that we all have at the back of our mind and is central to the foundation of the ACE Impact project. As part of the project, we encourage the centers themselves to seek additional funding. So we incentivize them by matching funds that they raise externally, whether through consultancies with industry or other sectoral partners, and through the various consultancies. Also, we encourage centers to have professional short courses, basically to train people that are already working, whether in related ministries or even in industry, in the latest where there's latest tools, latest methodologies within the field of the various centers to generate more income, and we'll push them towards strengthening their partnerships. Some centers have been able to really leverage the little money that they get to access quite a good deal of money, actually. So we hope that can continue as we proceed. But it's not always easy, particularly within the COVID era, for centers to raise additional funding. But that's definitely a core part of the project. And that also leads to the whole, the networks that we've encouraged the centers to form, so that collectively as well, these centers will become very visible and will be able to attract additional partnerships and funding. So I'll stop there. I don't know if Himdat and Quentin, you have anything to say with respect to this issue of sustainability.
Himdat?
No further comments from my update. It's okay.
Okay, Quentin.
En revanche, je vois qu'il y a une question.
I think there's a question that is being asked regularly on indicator 2 for impact, for the assessment of impact on development for centers. I think it will be interesting for the AAU to share the methodology that is expected to be used for assessment, its content, and the criteria.
Okay. Any other question on the chat box, or anybody who wants to say something?
Sylvia, would you like to respond to the DLI2 comment from Quentin?
Sylvia?
So for DLI2, we have the process, we initiated the process, we constituted a working group, and this working group designed the TORs for the external evaluator, but also clarifying some of the indicators that we needed to consider for the DLI2 as per the operations manual. So within the operations manual, table 6, there's a verification protocol for DLI2 and other DLIs. So we looked at all that and then brainstormed. So within this working group, we had members from the participating institutions, the ACEs. We had at least a representative from the renewed centers, a representative from emerging centers, and we also had representatives from the subject matter experts working together, brainstorming. So at the moment, we have a complete TOR that will be used for sourcing the frames that could help us with carry out this verification for DLI2. So more details for this DLI will be coming in the session on Thursday. There's a specific session on DLI2 verification protocol. So we shall have that session. So we invite all centers to really attend this session so they can get additional details and some of the highlights in terms of the indicators that we are looking into. But the process is going to be finished by 30th of June. At least we should have an independent evaluator by 30th of June. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kandawea. I think we are coming close to the end of the Q&A session, but I will give 1 more minute for anybody who wants to say something as a last question, or maybe from the chat box. Over to you. Yes, I can see Obana. You have the floor, please. Joel, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Professor Bona Joel from ACC for Uniport. I need a clarification. For instance, you have donors who give you something like equipment, or they build facilities for you, organization like PASSET. So how do you quantify the revenue from them in terms of getting a refund for IGR? I know that if you have partners who support you in fund, you can get back what the terms in terms of the money equivalent. But when you have an organization that gives you something like equipment or facility building, or organization like PASSET that sends students to you, so how do you report that as to get a refund in terms of IGR arising from that organization?
Okay. Do I take the second question and then we have responses and close? I have another one from Babakar Faye. Babakar?
Bonjour, vous m'entendez?
Good morning, can you all hear me? As part of the call from the networks, we made a submission from 4 francophone networks, including CA, AG, and as at now we haven't received any results pertaining to that submission. I want to know if our submission has been received, because in the presentation I saw that it was highlighted in red. So we don't really have an explanation. Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay. Okay, can I get two responses from either Bentil or Kandawea?
I can come in on the revenue generation. Thank you all very much. So we had a lot of discussion on this during ACE1, and at that particular moment, and I think this is maintained, because the whole point of revenue generation is to encourage fundraising and sustainability aspects. And this is a key part in terms of the actual funds that are transferred. So when we talk about equipment, and we're very happy that you're able to receive equipment and other contributions that are in kind, but revenue generation is not about in-kind contribution. Revenue generation is about actual revenue generation. And if we are to go down that complicated route of sort of having looking at equipment and valuing it and how much it's worth and all these things, it's not a very clear process. And we might get requests from certain centers that they receive furniture, and therefore we need to, look at how much this is worth. We see centers that have said we received equipment. How much is this worth? Certain centers will say we've received, other sort of in-kind contribution, and it will be very complicated also to try to verify such a thing. And the main objective of this matching grant is to establish a matching grant mechanism within the center. And we are seeing some aspects where some centers are even going beyond, in terms of revenue generation, taking it a step further to be the leaders within their universities to establish endowment funds. So we have to look at this as a systemic support to the center and university, that we want to support the sustainability factor. One of the questions raised earlier is, what is the World Bank doing about sustainability? One of the factors that we're doing about sustainability is to encourage really a focused attention from leadership on revenue generation that, looks at research consultancies, looks at competitive grants, looks at partnerships with the private sector. Because if this is just about gaming the system to get the DLI, we can do that, but that isn't necessarily going to lead to the long-term benefit in terms of the actual revenue generation objectives of this DLI. So at this particular moment, and also in terms of the complexity of trying to recognize equipment, etc., and valuing them and getting engineers and architects to try to look at these contributions. So that is the current thinking. I recall in ACE1 we had a lot of discussion, even with Andres Blom at that time, and this was something that I think, it's one of those things where, we need to maintain the ACE impact and the ACE project sort of focus on this quality revenue generation aspect. I invite my twin Ekwa to come in case she has any additional comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Twin Himdat. I think this is very good to hear, and to also just recognize that indeed centers are getting, equipment, in-kind support, as well as funding support. I think that's very good. But just to add a point to what Himdat was saying, you would realize that later in the week, we have a presentation, a session on DLI 5.3, which has to do with startups, entrepreneurship, and the engagement with industry. So one of the things that we hope that centers will start to do is to actually make your equipment accessible to, industry around where you live, so that, an industry partner, or they could not necessarily be a partner to the center, but would know that the center has a particular equipment that they may not have, but they find useful. And, as they come to use it, you can charge them and generate additional revenue through that, right? So although we may not directly give you funding for equipment that you may have received, we hope that you'll be able to actually generate additional funding, whether it's testing equipment that you can make accessible to the private sector within your sector. There's also a question in the chat about what we do with if the networks come together and generate funds, through your own application as a network, whether or not we'll match it. We'll think about it. We'll have to see, because we'll have to figure out who gets what, right? Is it split equally among the centers, and we, give funding towards that? But Himdad and I will note that down and come back to you on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can now bring this session to a close with closing remarks from the chair. I think we have all been convinced through all the presentations, introductory remarks, and participation of the members that this particular project is very, very important to bridge the gap that exists in our educational system across Africa. I think we have been for a long time lacking behind in terms of creating jobs, and when creating jobs, the educational system should be responsive enough in terms of providing the needed skills that are required to produce some of the products that our markets will need to buy or to sell. But if we don't have that capacity, and the continent is relying on importations to feed ourselves and so many other requirements, then we are yet to head towards a positive step in our development. I also take note that the ACE impact, according to the presentations, have made some progress under very difficult times, especially during this pandemic, but also because we've made some progress in disbursement rates. They are relatively satisfactory, but not excellent. So I think we all have a collective responsibility to make sure that the overall disbursement rate is raised to the highest bar. I think the funds, there is no doubt that we all need the funds, so we should not leave the funds unutilized at the end of the project. I can understand that part of this problem is because also Nigeria has just gone through effectiveness and has not benefited from disbursements. But collectively, I think we all have that responsibility to make sure that we raise our levels of disbursements. In addition to that, I know, for instance, also we have some important next steps to work on. Like in some few instances, in the case of Nigeria, I've spoken about the effectiveness. Now you move to the next level of making sure that disbursement starts and activities are undertaken by the project. In the case of Gambia also, we have our biggest chunk of the funds tied to construction. Thank God we have resolved some of our concerns on construction. We need to now move very fast, and this is where we need the collective responsibility of all stakeholders to accelerate the procurement process so that within the stipulated time, the construction can happen. I know also for the fact that Burkina has had some impact in training and review meetings, as well as our colleagues from Ghana in M&E and training also. I think in terms of the next steps forward, some of the key things that are coming up include capacity building, tracer study, And I know the bank is also, and donors are toying around with the idea of doing a midterm review where individual country portfolios will be assessed. And as such, the necessary steps taken, corrective where possible or otherwise, to make sure that some of the projects that are lacking behind are put on a sound footing. So to conclude, I will just say that we have made some substantial progress, but we must also not be complacent. We should also make sure that all of us work collectively
Nous avons connu des progrès, mais nous ne devons pas nous reposer sur nos lauriers. Nous devons déployer plus d'efforts pour garantir la mise en œuvre à succès de ce projet.
I thank you all for your participation. It has been a very interesting session, and I'm honored to have chaired it myself. Thank you.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is an international non-governmental organization set up by universities in Africa to promote cooperation among themselves and the international academic community.
Mon nom est professeur Étienne Ehouan-Ehilé. Je suis le secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines qui est basée à Accra, au Ghana. Je vais vous parler de la création de l'Association des universités africaines. Il faut remonter dans les années 60 pour pouvoir comprendre le processus. Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement.
I am Nodumo Dlamini, the Director of ICT Services and Knowledge Management at the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is a network of 400 universities in Africa. The biggest value that the universities benefit from being members of the association is this big platform that allows them to collaborate, allows them to work together, allows them to teach together. Through this platform, a university in North Africa can work with a university in Southern Africa, and also those in East Africa can work with those in West Africa.
Founded November 1967 at a conference in Rabat, Morocco, by heads of African higher education institutions, the association is currently headquartered in Accra, Ghana.
My name is Maxwell Amo-Hoyt. I'm the Director of Finance of the Association of African Universities. The association sustains itself from contributions from member universities and also from other development partners. Some of our development partners include the World Bank, other governmental agencies like the Swedish International Development Agency, UK Department for International Development, and other partners. We also receive a lot of support from other governments, especially the government of Ghana. Other partners include the African Union, which is more or less the parent organization of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities hosts the Secretariat for the African Union's Continental Education Strategy. And by so doing, we provide coordinating roles for the African Union in helping members achieve their targets.
Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement. Et rappelons-nous que les années 60, la décade 60, a été une décade où la plupart des pays africains ont obtenu leur indépendance ou ont, disons, pris les dispositions pour être indépendants. C'était donc aussi l'année de développement, dans la mesure où tous ces pays indépendants devaient se retrouver de temps en temps pour parler de comment mettre ensemble leurs problèmes et trouver une solution commune à leurs problèmes. Et dans ce contexte-là, l'éducation était une priorité pour eux, surtout l'éducation universitaire. Et sur ce plan-là, les universités aussi se sont organisées grâce à l'UNESCO qui a parrainé plusieurs réunions depuis Madagascar jusqu'au Maroc.
My name is Jonathan Umba. I'm the Director of Research and Academic Planning. The programs and projects that we run at AAU are consistent with our strategic plan, and they are implemented for our higher education stakeholders, namely the higher education institutions in Africa. These programs are implemented in such a way that our stakeholders will get the benefit of membership of our association. And our programs also are aligned with a number of global and international agendas on higher education, including the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and Agenda 2063. So these programs are aligned with a number of international agendas with a view to promoting higher education in Africa.
The AAU is the apex organization and principal forum for consultation, exchange of information, and cooperation among universities in Africa.
I am Professor Nkusa Mahao, Vice Chancellor of the National University of Lesotho in the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. There are roughly 77 universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region. But as you might be aware, there are a lot more universities that are as yet to take the membership of the Association of African Universities. Well, universities that are not members of the AAU are missing quite a lot. First of all, let's appreciate this one point, that the AAU is a main driver from the angle of training and capacitating the human resources of the continent, the agenda of the African Union 2063. So if an institution is not on board, it is missing the opportunity to leverage on the opportunities that are provided by the association in the area of training, human resource capital, training their own staff and students, the opportunities that are provided by the universalization of quality management on higher education on the continent, and many other opportunities that are provided.
Et en 1963, il y a eu une réunion à Khartoum, au Soudan, où les chefs des institutions d'enseignement supérieur ont décidé de créer l'Association des universités africaines. Finalement, la création va se faire à une conférence qui s'est tenue à Rabat au Maroc, et la création de l'Association des universités africaines a eu lieu le 12 novembre 1967.
I'm Prof. Hassan Kafi, AAU Governing Board member, representing for East African region. Also, I am the president of Plasma University, Mogadishu, Somalia. We really like to give a call for universities in Africa, especially in East Africa, those which are not members still in the Association of African Universities. We are calling them because we feel the organization is ours. It represents the voice of higher education in Africa being seen all over the world.
Hey, so this is Dishant from Unica University Common Application. I recommend you to watch AAU television.
AAU TV is the place to be for every person in higher education in Africa. Better be there or be nowhere.
Continuez de regarder la télé et surtout sur le AAU.
Keep watching it and it will change the way you interact with higher education on the continent. AAU, great job.
I want to tell you that AAU television is fantastic, it's educative, it's informative, and it is a must for anybody who is interested in higher education in Africa.
When I was in Accra last year, I did an interview on this TV. It's a very important mouthpiece.
It's a data, it's a bank of all we need for the development of higher education in Africa.
People should make an effort to view it because it discusses very current issues of development across the continent.
I believe that the station will continue to promote the overall development of Africa, particularly in the tertiary education sector.
AAU TV provides a platform and shares a lot of information to a broader audience. So we wish you all the best and please continue serving
AAU TV,
the voice of higher education in Africa.
Dr. Moda Seka, I don't know if you're still connected. I would like to hand over the floor, but if there are some connectivity challenges, to save time, I would like to just invite Maud, who is going to make a presentation on behalf of the Equia and Himdad, and then Equia will come in and Himdad to add. So the floor is to you, Maud. I hope the session chair is still connected.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry. So the presentation is just, sorry, in French. Donc, bonjour à tous. La présentation d'aujourd'hui présente une analyse qui a été faite en termes de performance des centres, des différents centres dans les deux projets. Donc, au niveau de cette analyse, il y a 3 facteurs qui ont été pris en compte. Donc, les résultats atteints, les décaissements reçus.
Result achieved, disbursement received for the result, and the utilization rate for funds that were received by each center. In terms of results for DLIs, a couple of results have had a rate of 25%. As part of these indicators, we have master and PhD student enrollment and publication articles too. So the team uses this opportunity to congratulate all centers which were able to achieve 100% in the achievement of these indicators. There are other indicators for which the achievement was much slower, like short-term courses, internships, and accreditation. For DLIs on financial management, infrastructure, and development impact, verification is scheduled for upcoming months, and we anticipate that rates will be improved by then. For proportion of results achieved, this is expressed in percentage for the overall allocation that was given to each center. For the first ACE impact, the average percentage is 39, with 9 centers going over the average. So these are centers from Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Senegal. For the second ACE impact, the rate of achievement is 20% in average, with about 12 centers going above the average percentage. These are centers from Benin, Nigeria, and from Niger too. Also Cote d'Ivoire. The second part of the assessment focused on disbursement in every centers and countries. I'm talking about disbursements that were made. This disbursement encompasses funds received by centers, and for countries that have national facilitation units, we are talking about disbursements that were processed for these agencies, and the disbursements that were made for countries participating in the former component. The average as at 11th May is 26%, and we anticipate an increment of 7% by the end of this month, after all the earnings made by centers for which letters were sent last week. For the second ACE impact, the average figure is 11%, and it's expected to increase to 22%, which is an important increment of about 15 to 17%, mainly anticipated, and we hope the disbursement of Nigeria will consider results that were achieved from the beginning of the project till now. Talking about funds used by each center, we have 4 centers that were able to have a good rate of utilization. We have Mythique in Senegal, the RCEE, the KNUST in Ghana, and ENCA in Cote d'Ivoire. Looking closely per project, we have an assessment that focuses on performance of centers in their national context, and we have the centers from Ghana that have about 15% of disbursement rate, Mythique, and in Burkina Faso the College of Engineers, which is leading with 11%. For the second ACE impact, the leading center with 32% of disbursement rate is NCA, followed by CELSA with 7%. We also have a center from the Gambia coming up next. This is the update concerning disbursement rate, utilization rate, and results achieved by centers. Thank you very much for your attention. I give the floor back to Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Maud. I now note that Prof. Seka is back online. So, Dr. Seka, kindly take over the session.
Okay, thank you, Kandawe, Doctor. You are right, I was locked out, so I had to struggle to come back. Luckily, I've made it. It's technology, one of those things. Anyway, I believe in my absence, you have completed your presentation, and the next person on the line would be Dr. Benton. Is that the case?
Yes, the next is Dr. Bentila and Madam Bayusuf.
Okay, I think let's have Dr. Bentil then.
Thank you, Dr. Matseka. I think since it's first ACE impact first, I'll pass it over to you, and I'll come in after. Yeah.
Morning, everybody. I think we have some audio issues a little bit, but merci tout le monde et bienvenue pour la réunion. I will speak a little bit in French